He's eating my bananas, but I'm not going to complain. It's not a rat, it's a bandicoot. And there's another one there. That girl is either pregnant or is carrying a little baby in its pouch. It's a marsupial. It's so cute. It's hopping around here. I'm actually in my father-in-law's garden, and along with the bandicoots, he also has himself a whole bunch of flowers right now. This is an example of a phenomenon referred to as accidental gardening. This guy wouldn't know the difference between a rose bush and a weed, but somewhere along the line someone planted something that looks good, that has done really well in this environment. So his garden doesn't look too bad right now. Well done, Swerve and Mervyn. The little guy's down here now. Okay, so I'm going to do the usual thing. I'm going to go over some chemistry and look at last week's experiment and then present a new experiment. We'll be focusing this week on the results of last week's experiment, where we were looking at some anti-pest properties of essential oils. And I'm going to begin by focusing on this little guy here. Cinnamaldehyde. Cinnamaldehyde is a major component of cinnamon, obviously, and cassia. And just like menthol that we looked at last week, this guy has been really well studied, and it has a lot of amazing properties all on its own. And like I said again, when you combine it with the other compounds in cinnamon and cassia, it can have a synergistic effect and really pack a powerful punch. So what can cinnamaldehyde do on its own? Well, before we get into that, let's just do some basic chemistry here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 carbons. So close enough to 10, so it's considered a monoterpene. And it actually has a sweet taste. It is, we have the sweet receptors on our tongue, and this is an agonist for those sweet receptors. So it tricks them into thinking that you're tasting something sweet, even though it doesn't have the nutritional value that you'd expect from something sweet. Okay, so what are some of its amazing properties? Well, it's a pest repellent. That's the first thing on our list because we're interested in anti-pest oils. And it's been proven, there's been a lot of research done into this, effective against ants, against termites, against mosquitoes, and a bunch of other pests as well. It's an insecticide, so it kills ants, it kills termites, it kills mosquito larvae. It is a fungicide, so it's effective against a range of different funguses or fungi. It has antimicrobial properties, so on top of the antifungal properties, it's effective against certain bacteria and viruses. It's being studied as a possible anti-obesity drug. It has the ability to cause fat cells in the human body to kind of start burning up fat. It's been shown to cause certain leukemia cells to die. It plays a role in inhibiting Alzheimer's disease as well, stopping its growth, etc., etc., etc. There's a whole range of things that cinnamaldehyde can do, so it's incredible. Let's look at some other anti-pest oils. So we have, we've got cinnamon and cassia here. Peppermint, I showed a video last week where I dabbed some peppermint next to some ants and they scattered. Melaleuca, eucalyptus, TerraShield, these guys I got from the, what do they call it, Modern Essentials app. You can also look on the doTERRA app, anti-pest oils, and there's a whole lot more than those that are just listed here. TerraShield combines a bunch of oils that have been shown to be effective against various pests. I came across a cockroach the other day and it was wandering on my car, and my son stood around complaining while I whipped out my little bag of oils, and I was testing, I was waving different oils in front of the in front of that cockroach, and tended to avoid certain oils, but it kind of ran away from black pepper. Really didn't like black pepper, and I noticed that isn't on the list in the Modern Essentials app. So there's different oils that are effective against different bugs. So if you haven't done last week's experiment yet, do the same thing that I did. Find yourself a pest and start waving oils in front of it and see what happens. Or you can do something a little more scientific. If you do a search for Screenwriter's Wife, she's a blogger, and peppermint, you'll see this lady has set up a really nice experiment in an attempt to figure out how to deter ants. She has a real ant problem in her house, and she came up with a really effective solution. I won't give it all away. You should take a look yourself. You really should. It's set up really well, and this is something you could try for yourself. Okay, so we can't move on without me telling you what happened with last week's experiment. If you recall, I had taken some rosemary leaves, and I had washed the oil off the back of 2 of those sprigs and left the oil on the other 2. So you have the pictures here, and you can probably guess which ones had the oil rubbed off them. That's this one and this one. They didn't fare as well as the ones that were left intact. It is not the best experiment in the world, and if you guys have any suggestions as to how to do this better, that would be fantastic. It's not the best because these guys also had to endure some rubbing, which the other guys didn't. And I had to rub them to kind of break open the oil sacs on the back of the leaves and to let the detergent remove the oil. But at any rate, these guys seem to have gotten some black stuff that kind of overtook most of their leaves, and I don't know if that was just bruising and cell death, or if there was some kind of fungus or something else involved. So speaking of fungus, this week what I would like you to do is some experimenting with oils that have been shown to be antifungal in property. So of course cinnamon is in that list, On Guard, which contains cinnamon, and clove. There's melaleuca, there's thyme, there's oregano, there's others as well. Try using these oils against certain types of fungi. So mold is an example of a fungus. Athlete's foot is an example of a fungus. There's candida. There's things that look like fungus are probably fungus. So for example, this banana here has this bunch of bananas has this white powdery stuff on the top. I'm going to take some cinnamon or something like that and test it against this white powder, see what happens, see whether I can kill it off with these different oils. So that's this week's experiment. Have a whole lot of fun, and I will catch you next week. Bye.